Dark Ages is one of my favourite worlds in the game, but it's one of the biggest bottlenecks for challenge runs. Between maybe the most unfair zombies in the game and the hardest world gimmick, this world is a doozy. Day 1, and oh look, our old buddy's back. I always start these worlds with the trail mix setup because it's the only time it's usable at all. But for the second time in a row, I actually failed day 1. I was actually planning to limit myself to just one source of sun like in the nut challenge, but this challenge is drastically harder. In fact, after setting up a full row of sun nuts this time, I still lost. There's just way too many zombies for just walnuts to handle, so I had to use the suck and blow. In all, I spent 20 minutes just on day 1, a new personal rock bottom. Day 2 I ran it back with the suck and blow. After much consideration, I think purely thematically, Dark Ages has to be the best map in the game. It's so atmospheric, I really love this world. Day 3 and we still don't have a single gimmick zombie, unless the balding imp counts as a special zombie, so I just sort of picked one of our many options at random and swept. Day 4 is a conveyor belt level. Day 5 and we finally have our first new zombie in the Jester. A famously frustrating zombie that does diddly squat to us here. I can't think of a single plant that this stops for us, unless times get so rough that we break out the emergency ice pea. Day 6 was a plan your defense stage that I accidentally skipped over in my playthrough of this world. This is so weirdly early for a plan your defense stage, and as a result it was just a breeze. I brought the spearmint along for more sun, but we didn't even dent our sun reserve. I love the time warp so much. Ad break. I don't normally like to double dip on sponsorships, but you guys really liked the free Gamer Sup shipping promotion. But that promo was only amazing value if you wasn't American, which most of you guys are. Luckily, this week I've come back to let you know that there's an even better deal going on, that's available for everyone. Starting from Friday the 6th of June at 3 PM EST, not only would code Shagrot land you a sweet 10% off your order, but also a free waifu cup worth 20 odd quid with the purchase of any Gamer Subs tub. This promo is only while stocks last, and these things sell out fast. I know, because last time I did this promotion, they sold out before my video even came out. Sorry about that. Head on over to Gamersubs and use code Shagrot to get your free cup and to support me in my quest to get my own flavour. Day 7 is actually a weird step backwards, as there's once again no special zombie. At this point in this nauseating challenge, I've completely lost it. Listening back on myself as I edit these videos is actually painful. I'd also accidentally skipped day 8 as well, since this challenge has me in a fucking haze, but luckily this one was just a given plant stage. I was so excited for day 9. It's the Alchemy challenge, which presents a real threat to us, but in a way that seems kind of fun to try and beat. Unfortunately, first try I found a super powerful and kind of lame interaction. See, when a zombie steps on one of these potions, they get a buff, a large boost to either their speed, damage or HP. But weirdly, the time warp removes these buffs, kind of trivializing the stage. It's not super free as the potions do respawn, and if a zombie steps on multiple of the speed ups, we're in trouble. But even then, I'm pretty sure the sap fling ignores the speed boost and just slows it all the same anyway. I can't really tell, to be honest. Day 10 is yet another conveyor belt level. Day 11 and here it is, the wizard zombie. This time around I obviously had the foresight of knowing this demon was coming up, so I had planned out some strategies. My main plan was to spam gumnut plant food, as this is one of the only ways to stop the wizard sheepening. For some reason, I thought that the tile turnip was the way to go, but just like every time I've ever used it, it fell apart very quickly. Though that didn't stop me from attempting it 5 times. Eventually I remembered that instead of dedicating 4 slots to the most intricate busted sun setup, just to fund 10,000 sun worth of tile turnips and power lilies, I could just use a singular reinforcement which is more powerful and costs 0 sun. Another major part of my plan was using the infinites, which I strictly remember blocking the sheep bolts, but I was wrong about that, they don't. Nevertheless, after a good few attempts, we brute force it with gumnut. Day 12 was a truly exhausting experience. We're tasked with prolonging the life of 5 mushrooms that are imminently drying up and withering away, like a grandparent that hasn't finished writing their will yet. It was obvious from the start that time warp was the way to go of this level, and it did a perfect job at stalling the zombies. The real issues was 1, stopping the shrooms from disappearing, and 2, stopping the shrooms from making the zombies disappear. It was easy to do once I could build up the rhythm, timing power lilies and refreshing time warp to make room for victimless plant foods. Finally, we can utilize the Boing Setter's ability to rid the screen of gravestones, giving us sun and plant food without killing any random zombie, entirely for no reason. After about an hour, I'd finally got all the zombies on screen and all the puff shrooms sheeped, and I put my hands behind my head to relax like a proper dipshit, and this happened. No! Oh, come on! Not my proudest moment, but after 20 more minutes I was able to clear the level with the Solar Sage. This was a rough level. Day 13 was a very welcome conveyor belt level. Now day 14 was something special. as I found what I considered to be maybe the saddest plant in the entire game. It's the Sunbeam level, and I thought that I had a way to beat this from the get-go. My plan was to loop time warps and ice blooms to do an infinite amount of small damage that never kills the zombies, creating a sort of infinite sun generator. But not only did the ice bloom give basically no sun at all, the time warp removes the Sunbeam status. That's weak. So the plan was to create a sort of pain farm, a way to stall zombies and deal as much damage as possible without ever killing the zombies, so we can reset them with the time warp and repeat. Very pacifist, I know. I thought long and hard about what was the perfect plant to use for this, and I landed on the electricity. I thought this was a genius idea and a really cool way to utilize one of the most forgotten plants in the game. And oh my god, is this plant pathetic. Just look at this absolute tickle fest. I worked out it's generating about 5 sun per 10 seconds. I was actually flabbergasted. This level would be twice as easy if I could just use the imitator on the Sunbeam, but frustratingly we're forced to bring the Gravebuster, which blocks us from doubling the Sunbeam. I attempted this level for hours and hours, and we came to one unfortunate bottleneck. And it's going to have to go on the maybe impossible list for now. The issue is there are so many ways to do little bits of damage. But it's not enough to just do a little bit of damage and refresh it. You need to do enough damage to refund fully the cost of the Sunbeam, otherwise you can't go on infinitely. The solution is to just use the Sunbeam on a very tanky zombie and then deal a lot of damage to that zombie. But there is like 50 zombies on screen here. It's impossible to pick out just the good ones. I think our super secret strategy at the end of this challenge will beat it, but it's going to be tough. I'm also moving that Citron level from the last world to that list, because you guys had some pretty crazy solutions that might just work. Day 15 we did first try of the Suck and Blow, but it was an absolute clencher. I thought the piano zombie music was bad, but at least there was only ever one piano blurting. This constant bleating of 20 different sheep was truly mind-numbing. Day 16 was the introduction to the King Zombie, one of the most nothing zombies in this whole challenge, although he did crush my garlic. Day 17 was unfortunately a nothing burger. Again, I was excited for these levels, but at least we get to do this world's micro presentation. For this world's presentation, we'll be going over the history of Shagrot, as in the little sprite. You may remember this guy. This was my first ever sprite, and it was actually for a university project. At university, I had to learn how to use the entire Adobe suite, and for the video related ones, Premiere Pro, After Effects, we made videos. I've always liked channels that had their own mascot, so I wanted my own. I've always been a goblin guy. If there's ever an option to play a goblin in the game, I'm playing the goblin. So I wanted my own little goblin mascot for these projects. And there's kind of a funny story about how it came to be. I had never commissioned an artist before, and I didn't know how to find the right guy. But one day when I was browsing r/Shyvana mains, which is a dragon-themed League of Legends character, I came across the artist One Trick Dragon. I absolutely adored his art style. I fell in love with it instantly. I needed someone that could do a goblin. And I don't know why, I just thought this art style would really translate well into a small goblin. So I reached out immediately and he accepted. And he even did my character very cheap because at the time I had 0 subscribers on YouTube. There was one tiny issue with this arrangement, however. It turns out this guy almost exclusively draws not safe for work art. I don't mean like casually or borderline, I mean like full blown not safe for work. But I had only seen his safe for work stuff when I reached out to him. And I cannot stress this enough, please do not seek out this person's social medias unless you're over 18. And that's kind of the tricky part of this situation. I loved this guy's art and really wanted to give him his due credit, especially since he did it so cheap for me at the time. But I was advised by people in the industry to not link his social medias in my description. And I understand why. I can't be linking not safe for work art when there is potentially young people watching my videos. But it felt bad. It felt really bad. So this presentation's kind of the credit that's long overdue. Now I've been asked a lot why I changed art style, and it's actually nothing to do with what I just said. I met Caramelek through Twitch. He used to just draw me random pieces of art for free, including the Sun Nut. He was the mastermind behind that. And we very quickly become good friends. When I got my first ever sponsorship, GamerSups, I decided to do a paid commission with Caramelek to get some sprites to do a little ad read. And I just fell in love with what Caramelek made. He absolutely smashed it. I loved this super simple goblin he made, and I instantly knew this was my new character. This is why my character wears that stupid I Heart Anime Honkers t-shirt. I don't want to be known as the Gooner guy. It was just originally for a GamerSups sponsorship. And from that point on, this kind of just became my character. Day 18 doesn't let us pick up plants. But day 19 is an all-timer, defending the magnet shrooms. The sweet potato makes this level so much more doable, and in fact we did manage to beat this one on the first try, with a casual 26 sheep on screen. This is one of my absolute favourite levels in the game. because through this level I actually met my channel artist Caramelek. This level was so harder than that challenge that Caramelek, who was lurking in the Twitch chat, decided to draw up a battle plan for this level, and that's how we started speaking, and very soon he became my channel artist. After maybe the coolest zombie boss in the game, we defeat the Dark Ages. This world's a peculiar one. On the one hand, it being so much shorter is a real demerit, especially since maybe a third of this world is brainbusters. But I do think if this world was much longer, it would have overstayed its welcome. There is no way I could have done 32 levels of Dark Ages in this challenge. That said, this is a real special world, maybe my absolute favourite. Thank you guys very much for watching, cheers.